So I am an English language instructor at the University of Birzeit in Palestine. My study aims to develop a supplementary writing teaching method that is compatible with the English teaching program, which is called Unlocked at the university. The program has been used to ensure that the students reach a certain level of proficiency before they get to their core subjects in the university. Uh, the literature that I reviewed for my study is based on the framework of systemic functional linguistics, which is an approach that looks at language, the function of the language in context, and the study aims also to offer writing instruction based on four general writing needs that I've noticed. These are understanding purpose and genre, using clause and sentence structure for a chosen text type, developing a sense of audience when writing, and writing coherently. Now, why did I choose this approach to see if it meets these demands, writing demands? It's because, as I said, it looks at the function of the language in a meaningful context, and the purpose of it is to achieve coherence in writing. Okay, and it does so by looking at texts through what they call meta functions or dimensions, and those are one, the ideational, that looks at clause and sentence structure. Two is the
I understand.
interpersonal, which has to do with audience, your relationship with the reader. And then textual, the textual dimension is the one that looks at cohesion and coherence in a text. Another reason why is because in the methodology, I used a couple of methods that are very compatible with the framework and that also implement the writing process, but not in isolation. So there's interaction between the teachers and the students while writing a text. And that gives a lot of guidance. My research questions evolved around how much or the effect of this framework in meeting these four writing needs. So my sample for the study is 54 intermediate level students of Unlock, which is the program, 27 of whom comprise the control group, and the remaining 27 is the experimental group. All right. What I did was, uh, as I said, two writing methodologies that are compatible with the framework. And the text type that I chose for this experiment was argumentation. So the students were expected to draft an argumentative essay with following the steps of the methodologies I used and based on the SFL framework. The first strategy that I use is called the information management. This has three stages. The first one is the text discovery, where we examine a similar text type and discuss genre and language choices. The second one is structure and drafting, and or some people call it the labeling template stage, where we create a logical tree for what goes in each paragraph in order to focus on the function of each of each sentence and each paragraph in general. The last one is called the structured feedback. And this is when the students exchange papers and discuss their own writing tasks and give feedback to each other. The second one is called the joint construction method. And this is when there is interaction and guidance given from the teacher or the instructor while drafting. This is the most critical point, because usually the way writing is taught is that you scaffold the process and then the writing is done in isolation away from the teacher. And here I did the opposite. And I experimented what it would be like if there is actually interaction between the teacher and the students. In the methodology, the explicit and implicit cohesive devices that I measured were nominalization, contrast, addition, reason, and register and voice. So I use tables of frequencies to measure the occurrences of devices or connectors that serve these purposes. And then I compared the results in a control group and in the experimental group. Now, when it comes to as far as findings are concerned, nominalization in the experimental group, there was a total of 115 occurrences in the 27 essays that I reviewed, and in the control group there was only 58 occurrences. As for contrast, in the experimental there was 34, and in the control there was 19. Reason 49 and 19, and experiment for voice 26 and 12. So there was a difference between in the findings between the two groups regarding the variables, the devices that I wanted to measure that feed into or contribute to the genre of argumentation. So my conclusion is the study investigate the framework first and its effect on the students' grammatical choices for a chosen text type, which is argumentation. The study offers writing instruction following joint construction and information management. These methods are compatible with the framework, and in the end, the findings showed that providing writing instruction based on such a framework and the methods that I used, it did show led to an improvement in the participants' writing. However, I had some recommendations for further research. I think that conducting further research should be done on a larger sample. This means that there may be more than the four needs discussed in the study. And so a larger sample would provide a more representative assessment. The second thing I'd like to recommend, I recommended actually in the research, was the time constraint had an impact on the instruction and the feedback that I gave to the students, because the whole thing happened, did not take the entire period of the class, and we had other assessments to do. So I would love if this study is given, uh, a little more time so that we could do unpacking and compacting exercises that would actually reinforce and highlight the dimensions and the use of the effect of using these cohesive devices in texts. And the last thing had to do with something in the writing, and that was about thesis statements which are a part of the introduction, and how the representation, how they're represented in the Unlock book was different than how the framework looks at them. And so I really also felt like there should be more time so I can um, uh, enlighten them more, the students more about what this means, and how, because it actually creates more liberty when writing, knowing all these things. And that's it.